What's up, guys? That Really Gross Guy here. We are back for Buy Bargain or Bust, and we are talking about Escape from Duckov today. You might recognize a game of a similar title, and this is a little bit of a play on that title, at least for that game, with a similar premise, except with ducks. This is an extraction shooter, a single-player extraction shooter that doesn't require you to get just totally griefed by randoms online. And this is just a lovely little game that I want to talk about with you guys today. Dropping into the game, you have the ability to select some difficulties here. I personally am going to run survival because it is basically the 100% damage received, damage dished out, and it's, I guess, the most normal version of the game. There are easier versions if you would prefer it that way, but for the most part, this is a game that I guess benefits a bit from a little bit of struggle, just a little bit, and the survival mode, I think, is where it's at. We have a planet shaped like an egg, very fitting of Duckov, and the premise of the game is you are stranded on a planet. You did not manage to escape, and I guess the planet is called Duckov. Anyways, the idea is you're trapped, and you have to find a way to get yourself off this planet. And in order to do so, you're going to have to get out in the world, scavenge, build, you come out of your bunker every day, go out and scavenge, and get what you need, build a little bit of an underground section with merchants and all sorts of stuff, do some quests and whatnot, and eventually work your way off planet. Jumping into the tutorial, there is a very generic, I don't want to say generic, it's a goofy kind of character customization tool, which I'm going to go through and I'm going to set myself up with. But basically, you get to create your goofy little duck. You can change your colors, your eyes, your crest, which is the top of your head, which would be your hair, your beak, your wings, your tail, and your claws. And you've got some good options here. Some are goofy. I'm sure they're going to add more to the character creator or whatever. All right, so I'm going with something a little bit, I don't want to say generic, but a little bit simple. There is, basically several different options and stuff here, but I'm going to go with a little bit of red and white kind of design. It's got these little hard eyes and a cool little crest. Right off the bat, you're going to get a very generic, simplified tutorial, and we'll skip through that. The only thing I'll mention is that for some reason, if you feel so inclined to go the wrong way and meet the warden, I'm just letting you know it's not a good time. Maybe it's worth trying to take this guy on. It might actually be, I didn't really think about it, but he friggin' lobs a grenade your way, and trust me, he's no joke. You take a little peek at him, and he's gonna light you up. All right, so one thing you'll notice as you play through the game is this top-down vision. Basically, you have a cone of vision that you have throughout the game, and you need to look manually. I'm playing on PC, so I'm looking manually with my mouse, making sure that I can see as I go along. And once the enemies get outside of that cone, you can't see them, so you are reliant on sound for enemies' footsteps and gunshots and all that good stuff. And you're also reliant on directing your focus in the direction of enemies in order to even see them. So cover is a concern. Obviously, with enemies get behind solid objects and you can't see through it, they could be hiding right around the corner, so it's something you have to be aware of. And for the most part, the game is a little bit of a slow progression type deal. The concerns, of course, like any survival type game like this, is dying and losing your stuff. Fortunately, It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, guys. It kind of is a big deal. So, you lose your stuff. It's not a big deal. The game says it's not a big deal. So is it a big deal? Anyways, so it's always good to have a backup pair of gear because you will be in the next morning and you will have the opportunity to go back and retrieve your gear. As far as I understand, like many games, if you die again, I believe all of that stuff disappears. I think you have, I don't want to say one chance to go get your stuff, because I do believe if you go out in the world and you don't get to your stuff, but you extract and you go back out into the world, you can get it, because I've done that before. But I don't know if that's going to be something you can do consistently. There also is a point in time where there is a storm that rolls through, and there are other survival games out there where that kind of wipes the map and like all the loot respawns. This game's different because every time you go back out into the world, it refreshes. So that's where it's a little bit different. The storm might bring, you know, certain elements to the game, especially as you get further into it. But currently, because this is a little bit of a first look kind of deal, I've played maybe 15 hours or so, and I've run through 2 different maps, and they're genuinely very fun. But for the most part, I haven't struggled enough, or I haven't died multiple times in a row to kind of see that. And when it comes to the storms, I don't really have the gear to even consider, you know, going out at night, because at nighttime robots come out and they will absolutely hunt you down and kill you. But for the most part, I don't have the gear to even kind of risk that type of stuff. So for now, I'm kind of in the dark about if the storm kind of changes some things up. You know, maybe there's some end game type stuff there. But yeah, you can retrieve your stuff as long as you don't die twice in a row, basically. All right, so basically what you're going to see here is me doing exactly that. Is my body is right around the corner. You hear a few gunshots. I'm kind of letting some of that take care of itself, hopefully. You see a chicken up there, so somebody already managed to get himself killed. This guy ended up chasing me with half health. He had a good amount of gear on there. You could see that I shot him several times. It didn't do a ton of damage, so thankfully he was half down. There are different types of enemies in this game. There's basic scavengers with very little gear. There's these mercenaries that are on the very first map, and they, I think, they're the hardest ones I found on the first map, and they've got a little bit of gear. They have the like stage 2 weapons, and you have to be a little bit concerned because the rapid firing and AKs and helmets and backpacks and all that stuff that they have is going to make them a little bit more impervious to your damage. So you can see here that I've ran back and I have acquired my items. Obviously, you struggle for some of your backpack space, and carry weight is also a thing. So the idea is you kind of have to pick and choose what you take back with you. You'll see that some things are very important for quests early game and become much more irrelevant as you go. And other things that you stumble across might be really, really valuable, which are really nice to sell, but you could hold on to them for some of the later game quests. But for the most part, you come across things often enough where you don't have to be too crazy. But for the most part, if you see something more than once, especially in like a single trip out, it's likely to be common enough that you could just sell it. There are some rare items like graphics cards that are worth a ton of money, and I've come across a few of them over like the 15 hours that I've played, and I hung on to the first one for such a long time. And once I got a second one, I basically sold it. But the idea is that the valuables, you'll start to see what becomes more and more relevant. I've sold off hundreds and hundreds of the same items. even though they were needed for quests, and I still stumbled across it when the time came. And there were other things that I held on to for a really long time because I saw that they were worth a lot, only to find out that 10 hours later, I needed it. Or some of them I've come across 2 or 3 of them, and I still haven't needed. And thankfully, they were worth a lot of money, so they did me a lot of good with my progression. So one thing you can expect from pretty much every game like this is some level of, customization to like a base. This game has the underground bunker, which has its own like storage facility, a crafting bench. Later, you'll be able to actually build additional like vendor tables and stuff. There's like a medical bench. There's like a workout ring for one of the characters that you meet out in the open world. He's an NPC that's really stoked about getting buff. He lives right up in here. You can see the, what do you call him? I'm having a brain fart right now. But he's got a basketball hoop outside. He's got his weights out front. Kind of, oh, his name's Mud. He liked getting buff. So you take several quests from him, basically little fetch quests, that you bring him basically like he's like carb loading or something. I forget. But basically you get a couple items for him. And then he ends up kind of giving you like one final trial. And he says, hey, basically go build a gym down in your bunker and I'll come visit you. And he's great because he's going to be the person that helps with your stamina, intake or your stamina drain. He's going to, I think he also is the one that's going to help with your hunger and thirst, kind of making that, take longer to drain, or maybe it maxes those out a little bit further. But yeah, he's definitely, an NPC that you want to do the quest for. So a cool little, world building type thing. And what's great about this little open world is you have the ability to like repair broken bridges, which give you shortcuts. There's a few gates that you could get access to through key cards or just doors that could be unlocked. Down here, actually, the way I'm headed is a manhole, which drops you down into a little sewer system, and you can see that I have the option to remove these boxes, and this is actually going to be another entryway for our home base. So you'll be able to extract from here. It drops you down into this little sewer system. And you have the little ferry down here, which takes you to Farm Town, which is another map, which I've started to explore here recently, which is like 3 times, actually probably even bigger than that, of the current map that I'm exploring right now. And you have these little, it's not like a it's kind of like a vendor. You roll a chance on these like charms, and they do different things. They're randomized, but for the most part, they're going to give you things like, your ability to sneak is going to be improved, or it's going to be like gun recoil and time to aim down sight modifiers and stuff like that. They go in those totem slots, which are on the left-hand side, and you find the right ones and it completely changes your build. It's really, really cool. We have this large, expansive bridge over this area, which I'll show you me passing through this lower section here as well. But upon completing this bridge, you get to slip over into this little cave over here. And not only is there like several boxes of ammo, but there's straight up a secret weapon that you can get the blueprint for and build. And it's just that little extra touch of quirky goofiness and the risk-reward kind of tug of war that makes this game so fun. Here's an example of me with a fence key that I managed to find out in the open world. Some of them you might have to find on other maps, by the way. And some of these keys will be for other maps as well. So the idea is you're gonna gather up these keys. You're gonna be able to take them back to your base, and you're gonna kind of register them so you don't have to have them on you. But that is a station you have to build at some point. But the idea is you grab these keys, you make sure that you get them, registered or whatnot, and basically, yeah, you'll go around and utilize those for some little loot stashes around the world. You'll also have these opportunities to open up these shortcuts, similar to basically these little expansions and whatnot you'll be able to do to get to certain areas. This was an area that is close to our bunker that we were not able to get through previously. And if I remove this little bar, it's going to allow me to basically pass through here whenever I please, no matter which side I'm on. So, goofy, melee-oriented enemies ended up trying to get me through there without, an understanding of the way a locked gate works. Another thing that is really fun and goofy is some of the items in the game. You either, it takes you time to kind of figure out what they're even for. This one stood out to me immediately because I'm a big fan of Metal Gear Solid, and you can find these boxes to conceal yourself in, and I absolutely love it. If enemies see you from afar, they kind of just get curious and they come over and just like look at it. Obviously, you don't want to move because then you give yourself away. But for the most part, I'm just kind of like sneaking around. This is one of the most dangerous areas on the first map. The mercenary enemies in here are the ones that I mentioned have pretty decent gear. But I'm trying to sneak in here and I'm trying to get some of that gear, to be honest. There's a boss that you can fight here, which I will show you guys momentarily. But he's going to drop you some pretty good gear. Pretty much everybody in here drops good gear. I'm kind of listening for the footsteps. It gets a little bit easier later, especially when you get like the proper earmuffs. There's like electronic earmuffs that allow you to like block out certain sounds, or it kind of narrows down the locations of the enemy's footsteps and stuff, even if you don't see them. So that's really advantageous. But you see me creeping through here. You have Pado Chapo over there, who's the boss. But you can see me jumping in. Yeah, there's an example of those headphones, which are great. I found a UMP. It's just called a UP in this game. Anyways, they're trying not to steal, But yeah, so it's really, I don't know, it's such a fun, quirky little game. And the idea that the pressure isn't really there from the crazy PvP, try-hardy, nonsense that's going on in the game space right now. I'll be completely honest. I find it really crazy that so many companies are jumping on this extraction, PvP bandwagon, when, to be honest, it just seems like a flawed, just struggling genre to gain any foothold. And so many companies are trying to do it. There's one or two out there that are doing okay, but even some of those, I feel like, are not big breadwinners for some of these companies, and it blows my mind they're still trying to shoehorn their way into it. To be honest, I think most of them just think that as long as they put down enough assets and make a really large open world, and they do some sort of rinse and repeat game mode over and over again, that they don't really have to hire voice actors or create any kind of story or anything meaningful. They just pitch a bunch of players against each other and make that the experience, and it seems lazy to me. The best thing about this game is it's simple, but like in a complicated way. It's quirky. Stuff like this box that I have over my head to just sneak around is hilarious. And there's so many different items. There's so many things to discover. The worlds, the maps are, expansive with a lot of fun, quirky things going on in them. Oh boy. And there's something about this style of game that just doesn't take itself too seriously. That makes, you know, moments like this where you're creeping through a new area, you know, grabbing your loot and you hear little footsteps. My headphones are doing their job and give me a little bit of a heads up as to enemies if they're close enough by. As you can see right there. Jumping out, doing my little dodge roll, doing my thing. Grabbing some body armor. Oop. But overall, just an absolute blast. You have a day-night cycle. So at nighttime, I mentioned previously that you just don't want to be out at night. These robots come and kill you. There can be storms and stuff. I didn't see... So I've had rainy days where just your vision is a little bit, you know, crazier, and it's a little bit harder to hear. It's obviously darker as well. There can be simply just cloudy days. But for the most part, there's a scheduled storm system that I mentioned, and I guess you just can't be out at that time. You'll see up in the top left that it says the next storm arrives in such and such amount of time. So at least you're privy to the dangerous, you know, type of storm. So you can see me here kind of making my way up to the top of this hill, finding another cardboard box. Absolutely wonderful. And there's this merchant up here who is like I don't want to say a secret vendor. It doesn't look like he travels. Maybe he'll appear on other maps as well. But the idea is this vendor up here only takes like the paper cash, which you can only get by taking down other enemies. And he has some exclusive stuff on him, which is really, really cool. Another just kind of, you know, unique thing that, I don't know, it just makes every map, everything a little bit more tangible and memorable. And thoroughly am just enjoying it. But yeah, overall, it's a very fun, chaotic, goofy, you know, don't take it too seriously type game. The looting and the, you know, I guess the growth between, you know, getting what you need to upgrade your skills, to the loot you find, to the loadouts that you end up with. Genuinely, I don't know, the game has the right tempo, I would say. And after about 15 hours that I'm kind of at the point where I have decent gear, stuff that I don't really want to lose, and I have an okay backup set of gear. So if heaven forbid I go down out in the world, I could basically go and get it. It's so rewarding. It's a lot of fun. I'm going after these mercenaries, finally finding some really cool loot. I think this is the first time I managed to find this AR themed rifle, and I'm stoked. I think I find 2 of them, and I'm just super, super stoked about that. But I'm rocking an AK with maybe 1 or 2 attachments. I don't know if at this point I ended up with a silencer on my pistol, but for the most part, I'm really having a blast. Enemy here is taking out my cover. There he is. He's the boss. Trying to jump into cover, trying to survive. You have other enemies here in the commotion coming in and trying to take those guys down as well. I'm healing up with my medikits in the back here. Managed to take out one of his little goons. Reloading. Oh, another one of the green guys coming on in. I'm bleeding, so I gotta get a health kit in. Just absolutely crazy. It's super fun. And oh, look at my little dog coming along for the ride. So he's basically your little companion. Don't worry, nothing happens to him. Some of these games have basically like some people call it a prison pocket for reasons if you know what that means. In other games, it's basically like you have a stash with maybe a couple item slots or whatever that you can put like one key item that you really just don't want to lose, and you can give it to your dog, and basically it guarantees that it gets extracted even if you die. So it can be very useful if you found a quest item that you've been, you know, struggling to get to or whatever. But anyways, I made it my way into the base. I managed to take down the boss here. take down his goons, grab a whole bunch of gear, and overall, such a fun, rewarding experience, especially because, like I said, it is a little bit of a struggle there. Nothing too crazy, but it takes a little bit of time to build up for that. And then when you finally pull it off, it's really, really fun. So, yeah. And I suppose at this point, you know, it's very obvious when it comes to this game. At full price, I believe it is $18. When they released, it's not, is it early? I guess it's early access, but I don't know. Actually, this game came out in China a little while back. It's not made by very many people. Very small dev team. But the idea is this game has like 4 or 5 maps at this point. Actually, I think it's 5. Maybe 6, actually. But it's at least 5 maps. It's $18. And when it came out, like the week it came out, which is like as this video goes up, it's like 12% off, which puts it at like $15. It is one of the best $15 I spent on a game in a very long time. So absolutely, this is a buy. Obviously, if you can get this at a bargain, it is a steal. I think at $18, it is a blast and worth every penny. If they do expand this game in any way, shape, or form, that would be awesome. I personally would be happy to pay for like a little bit of an expansion, whether they want to do like a $5 or even $10 major expansion. I would happily pay that price. But regardless of what they do in the future, as is the way it stands, absolutely worth your money. So I'm really curious to see if you guys have played this game, if you maybe were on the fence about it. I totally did not think that's what this game was when I saw it on the marketplace. I basically glossed right over it. I was like, I'm not interested in another, extraction-y type game. Just not for me. And I ended up just stumbling across word of mouth, or I think it got suggested to me over and over again in my Steam page. And I was just like, all right, ducks. It's got ducks. So I decided I want to buy it. I looked at the game. I had a lot of fun. It was goofy. It was quirky. And if I can talk like a duck, I want to try. I don't know if you can understand a dang word I said, but I want to give it a try. It was worth it. And I'm so happy I did. Anyways, I think I'm going to leave it there. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Have you played it? Are you having a blast like I did? Do you think it's worth the full price, $18 or whatever? Let me know down in the comments below. I appreciate you guys very, very much. I am really stoked. I have a lot of more buy, bargain, or bust to put out there for you guys. But this one I had to get out there right away because, gosh, this game is just super fun. And I think it's a little hidden gem that maybe a lot of people have not heard of, or it's just for whatever reason not being covered by anybody. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough, but thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Hope to see you guys again in the next one. Hello! Actually...